Hello and welcome to episode 561 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Join me as always is the glorious LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. How you going there, fella?
I'm going pretty good, Andrew. I hope you're doing well, as well as all of our listeners, because I worry about our listeners when we don't do an episode.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I'm like, man, I hope they're all doing well. I hope they're enjoying their lives, because I value our listeners.
Ah, okay.
Sometimes I think that I don't say it enough, you know?
No, it's, I know I've never said it.
Yeah, what the fuck's that all about?
I was thinking that maybe just because I'm a nice, friendly guy that it was just implied.
Yeah, it's probably, that's probably the thing, isn't it? You don't have to say stuff like, I do. I got to go out of my way to make sure people know I don't hate them.
That's right. Even though if you do sound angry when you're saying it.
Yeah. I hope our listeners are doing great. Just great.
I fucking like you, all right?
It doesn't matter how nice you try to be. It just comes off as sarcastic. I hope you're doing fine out there. Just wonderful.
Just peachy. Yeah, that's great. Isn't that great for you?
I was thinking about you all week.
While I was dying.
Oh, man.
I'm good with being able to start out on a sarcastic, sassy tone.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What's been going on?
Well, the Lachlan Galvins saga is over. And he is now, it's not completely official, but it's all but official, that he's a Bulldog. He's a Canterbury Bulldog effective immediately.
Gus's courtship finally come through with the goods.
Well, he would never pay a teenager huge money. Oh, hang on, he did. And he would never get involved in, signing someone from another. Oh, wait a minute, he did. He wouldn't want to be. Wait, he was involved in it. Okay. Yeah. Seems like he's a hypocrite, doesn't it?
Look, hypocrite's probably a harsh word.
Two-faced cunt.
If you look at it from every single aspect of the whole process of what went on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as bad, if not worse, to be honest, than player agents using the media to get the results they want as well.
I've got no problems with that.
I know you don't.
Yep.
But it's a very similar grey area. And I think for a player agent, it's a bit lazy.
I don't think so. I think it's effective.
No, I'm not saying it's not effective. I just think it's lazy.
So, like...
But Gus's... Yeah. It's far less genuine.
Yeah. Did you see my tweet about Isaac Moses?
No.
It went off.
I've not been on Twitter much. Let me.
You haven't missed anything. Let me see. I can bring it up. Here's what I said. Right. Okay. I said Isaac, and look, I'm not being paid by Isaac Moses. Funnily enough, if Isaac Moses wants to start paying me, LeagueFreak at LeagueFreak.com. I'm all ears. So just to get that out of the way, I tweeted, Isaac Moses got his client out of a deal early to move to a different club on a much, much larger contract. This is his job. How people feel about him means absolutely nothing, because the fact is he gets results for his clients. And my God, does he get results for his clients. Now, something funny happened this week. You know how Triple M used to be worth listening to for footy content, and then they just filled it with fucking journalists and who gives a shit?
And Johns's.
Yeah. So yeah. I keep on seeing their tweets come up I know I don't follow them, but it'll come up in my general timeline, and I just, every time it's a journalist saying something I write, no one cares what journalists think. Well, I did it to something. I was a journalist that said that the Bulldogs weren't a chance of winning the premiership this year, which is just silly. Like, if you're in the top 4 this year, you're a chance to win. Okay. So I wrote, no one cares what journalists think. And then he wrote back to me like at fucking midnight or something. Well, look at the look at the amount of people replying. People obviously care, but thanks anyway. Something along those lines. And it's like, well, you said something dumb and people pointed it out. It's a bit different, you know?
Mm.
Anyway, turns out, remember when we were talking, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast. A few weeks ago, Isaac Moses was asked to have one of his players on a Channel 9 TV show. And he said, I'll do it. You can talk to him, but you can't have this journalist on your show, right? And of course, Channel 9 is the bastion of like integrity.
Yeah.
So they told that journalist to get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of the building.
Was this Mitch Moses who was being interviewed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now, that journalist was the one that got pissy the other day at me on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's just funny how things work out.
Wow.
Yeah, because you know what? People want to hear from Mitch Moses, including Channel 9. You know who they care less about? What journalists have to say.
Interesting.
Lawyered. I just put on my glasses like that fucking guy out of CSI Miami, hey? That's just... David Caruso.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Some could say, no one cares what journalists thinks. Yeah!
Wow. So you've been having some fun then?
I've been pulling the strings.
I've got to ask now.
Yeah.
Are you an Isaac Moses guy? Are you on Team Isaac?
Here's my stance on Isaac Moses. If it was one of my key players at my club, I would absolutely hate what he was doing. Right? I would, if he was dealing with my contract, the surrounding media attention and the stories and stuff would not be something I'd want. They would be distracting to me. I will say this though, every single one of his clients gets paid. They get top dollar. And I've seen people saying, well, there's clubs won't deal with these clients anymore. I actually had some people on Twitter saying, you know, all these clubs won't deal with him and his clients anymore. And you and me have pointed this out. They will. You know, if they want to play, they will. And then
they've got no option to.
They have to, yeah.
Yes.
Like if you wanted to get Lachlan Galvin, you had to deal with Isaac Moses, right?
Yeah.
And if you didn't, well then congratulations, you're putting parameters on yourself to be less successful than everyone else, right? The West Tigers and the Bulldogs both deal with Isaac Moses over one player. You know, that says everything. So this guy goes around and he has very high profile clients. He gets them the most amount of money possible. He has no obligation to any club, to any media organization, to any fan. It is just getting his clients exactly what they want, and he tends to do that. So, you know, even what I think about the dude doesn't matter because Lachlan Galvin got exactly what he fucking wanted.
No, I get all of that.
Yeah.
As I said, I just think that, I think I said it before, I think his methods at times have the potential eventually to make his job a little bit harder for himself. And that's just the disruption of stuff that he causes. But, you know, if he's fine with doing that and he's fine dealing with whatever comes out of that, so be it. But if I was a player manager, I wouldn't be as disruptive as he is to teams.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get the desired result. I don't think a lot of it is as necessary as he makes out. Like the bullying stuff and all that sort of garbage he goes on with, I don't think any of that was really necessary. I think he could have got the same result without having to go to that length to try and get him out of the contract.
I think he would say it worked.
No, of course it worked. But I mean, at the same time, how many how many players, who have signed a contract for about 2 or 3 years' time, how many of them actually get released early anyway? It'd be a fair few.
Yeah, but not a Lachlan Galvin.
These contracts aren't entirely like ironclad. They can all be broken wherever they feel like it.
The thing to remember about Galvin is he was on a very small deal. It's basically his first professional deal, and he was on that deal for this year and next year at least.
That's right.
And a
lot of those rookie deals, it was a 3-year deal up front, and when he was still 17 or something. So, of course, it wasn't going to be massive. He hadn't even played first grade at that stage.
Yeah. And now he's already got a deal which is worth much, much more that is currently will come in. Part of it will come as part of his next paycheck. And so, I just think that I understand why people don't like Isaac Moses. I totally get it. All I'm saying is the guy gets results and what he does works.
Yeah.
And that's all that he will care about. Like, give me a manager that says to me, I will fucking destroy my own reputation to get you the most money possible. And I don't care what anyone says about me whatsoever. I will get you everything and more you've ever hoped for. Over a player manager that says, oh, yeah, I'm mates with everyone. Everyone loves dealing with me. It's like, fuck that guy. I want the guy that walks into my team and makes them all terrified.
Yeah, look, fair enough. I just think the whole bullying thing, because it is also attached to Galvin at the same time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%.
Right? So that means that some clubs might look at Galvin and go, oh, we can't talk too heavily to him or be too harsh on him when we're training because he might think it's bullying.
I don't think they think like that.
But you never know. That's the thing. And that's the sort of these are things that you have to. I mean, I think an agent should be a bit more considerate about how the long-term impacts might be. It may impact. You don't know. But that's a risk that I don't think it's worth taking. If it's a risk on behalf of the player agent, he's in control of that situation. That's on him. But if there's a potential that it could impact the earning capacity of his player by saying something like that, which there is a risk to some degree, we don't know what it would be, but there could be, it might. It's not also a great thing. That's what I'm saying. The disruptive stuff, I just don't think it's entirely necessary. I don't think it's hugely helpful or entirely always the best course of action. I don't think he needed to go to those lengths to get Galvin out of the contract. I think they could have just got it cut straight away. I don't think it wouldn't have been as. I just think it just wasn't necessary.
I think if next week Lachlan Galvin come out and said, I don't like Canterbury, I want to go to a different club. Next week, if he said that, I think there would be a bunch of clubs lining up.
No,
that's what they do. Yeah.
There will be.
Like, do you remember when Michael O'Connor switched to rugby league and he said that his family didn't like it and they said he sold himself like a piece of meat? Right?
Yes.
He said that. He still got signed. I don't think it matters one iota what is said, a lot of what is done. I think if you've got the talent, a team will sign you. I think you could do pretty much, and we've seen it, you could do pretty much anything and a club will be there waiting for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's me having zero faith in the people that run rugby league clubs, and so far I'm batting 100.
So he's definitely going to the Bulldogs.
Yep.
And it's going to be ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be straight away.
So let's go on. Right. How does this impact the Bulldogs? So is Burton moving to the centres or halfback? Because the other talk is Sexton now wants out.
I think that there'll be a lot of talk about Bulldogs players under contract that supposedly want out and that read about it in the media.
Yeah. But apparently Sexton is one that wants to get out of the club upon hearing that Galvin was coming.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the halfback? Is it going to be... I don't think it should be Galvin.
No.
Should it be Burton?
I think Burton's a 5'8",
He is.
and then do you put Burton into the centres then? I don't think that's the perfect place for him.
But you still need a 7.
Yeah.
And they've paid nearly 7 money for a 5'8" when they already had an elite 5'8".
You're talking about things that a normal club would look at and say, yeah, this seems weird. We're doing it wrong. But Fergo doesn't think like that. He thinks of it as a fancy rugby league team. He puts together an NRL team like a kid puts together a fucking 2K NBA 2K team. You know, they just grab the players and they put them in there, and then they worry about it later. Yeah, Gilbert Arenas, I'll put him at center.
Why not?
Yeah. Because it doesn't make any sense at all.
Do you reckon we'll start hearing stories starting with Gus Gould and this used to happen a lot. Oh, you don't have a traditional halfback anymore. It's just 2 5'8", one on either side of the field.
Yeah. You know what I think will happen? I think, look, Galvin is a 5'8". He just is a 5'8". I can't see anywhere really else for him. It's got to be him or Burton. You can't have both of them.
I wouldn't be surprised if they moved Burton to 7.
I don't think that's going to work that well.
It probably won't, but I think that's what they're going to do.
I wrote during the week, I think that and they're already talking about getting rid of Reid Marnie immediately. I don't know who's going to have salary cap space for him.
So who's going to be the hooker then? This has just made too much of a mess there already. This is stupid.
I know. And they're fucking right near the top of the ladder. Why would you fuck with it? But I said that Kikau is probably the one that's on a big contract that you could get another, kind of like when he was at Penrith. I said that you're going to miss some of the things that he does, but there are so many good forwards in the league that you're going to be able to get somebody into his position that'll do a good enough job. So I think Kikau is probably one player that you'd look to move. But it doesn't fix your problems. How this all fits together, I don't know.
It's pretty much. I mean, the other option, which hasn't been discussed too much, is Burton goes to fullback.
Yeah, and I feel like those days are past him. I like.
Because otherwise he goes to centre and Crichton goes to fullback. But I've never been 100% sold on Crichton as a fullback. No, he's the best centre in the game. Why would you move him to fullback? You know, that's right. And
Tracy's at fullback, and he plays great for them.
He is pretty good.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes that he just always gives 110%, and he's if you've got a fullback like him, I just don't mess with it.
No. So that's the Bulldogs drama they've got to deal with. The other drama is Parramatta were absolutely certain they had him, which is part of the reason, I believe, why they were happy to let Dylan Brown go to the Newcastle, because they thought they'll just pick up Galvin to fill that spot.
They'll get him down the track, yeah.
So now they don't have Brown or Galvin. What do they do? Because they're going to have money.
Well, the first thing I'd do is I'd have talk to Burton's agent.
That's what I was going to suggest. First thing they do, let's talk to Matt Burton. Imagine how well he'd go next to Mitch Moses.
I feel like that's a beautiful half 5'8" pairing.
Absolutely, it is.
The only better half 5'8" pairing would be if you put him alongside Cleary, and I just don't think the Panthers would have the cap space to work with Cleary. I just don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Penrith do have the cap space. They did not spend much money at all last year, and look who they lost: Fisher, Harris, and Luai. That's a ton of money that they freed up in the cap, and they barely replaced it. They could get Burton if they wanted to.
I just feel as though, at some point, Nathan Cleary is going to get the $2 million deal.
He may well, but...
And then, the thing that Penrith has that's the X factor in their salary cap is Brian To'o. Because normally you wouldn't pay much for a winger, but he's more than just a normal winger. So I feel like he's the X factor in, he's the player that will have to earn more in that team, and kind of puts the balance out of having the space. Because I think that Burton is close to like $1 million player just for the fact that he's an experienced good half.
Yeah. I generally think, though, if Penrith wanted to, they could get him back.
I'd love it. Then what do you do with Blaise Talangi? Put him at centre, I guess.
Put him at centre, yeah. Or
he's showing something too. That's the thing that gets me about Blaise Talangi at 5'8". He's shown a little bit. He does need time there, but there's things he's doing that I'm like, oh, that's a little something there.
I'll tell you what, if Penrith's season doesn't start improving rapidly,
yeah,
and let's also be honest, okay, they're not in an entirely shit position. They're 2 wins away from 7th place on the ladder.
Yeah.
Okay, so but if it starts looking like it's going to turn shit, I would like to see, just for a few weeks, them trial having Talangi at fullback and Edwards at 5'8".
Same here. That would be interesting.
I'd just like to see that. I think that would suit both their styles, and I think it would be a long-term solution to their spine. Because at the moment, it's something's not looking right, and I think what Cleary needs is an experienced hand beside, in the halves with him that he's used to, not a young bloke he's going to be a little bit inconsistent because he's only young and he hasn't played much in the halves at all. He just needs a steady hand in the halves, and I think he works better around that. Whereas if he's got someone who's a bit erratic with form or decision-making, stuff like that, I think Cleary feels like he needs to control more of what both halves do. And sometimes that makes him less effective, as it does with any half.
Yeah. Well, it allows the defence to basically know if you shut down one of the halves, you shut the team down. And I think that Nathan Cleary showed so far this year that he's so good that it's very hard to shut him down.
That's right.
But it's, we've seen teams when they've got one dominant half and the other guy's kind of an offsider. It's difficult to really go on and win a premiership like that.
That's right.
There's very few teams do that.
So, get into Parramatta. Who are they going to get to be their 5'8"? If they can't get Burton, do they go after Daly Cherry Evans and move Moses back to 6?
I think, there's a lot of talk that Daly Cherry Evans is going to the Roosters, and that's almost done and dusted. But I don't see him as the player for the the Eels. I don't know. Like, I wonder if they would look at Blaise Talangi. If they could get Blaise Talangi back and offer him the 5'8" role, and then maybe Burton could go to Penrith. But that's a lot of moving parts and big ifs and who's got the cap room and all that sort of stuff. And I have a feeling Blaise Talangi would not want to make that deal. Unless they offered him big money. Unless it was like, you're going back on a 4-year deal and you're on $600,000 a year.
If the Roosters go after DCE, Parramatta should 100% go after Hugo Savala or Sandon Smith.
Well, the weird one for me is Sam Walker. He's been forgotten in all this, and he was their next big thing. And
he has been overtaken. Savala has come along in leaps and bounds.
He's been good, yeah.
He's got such a nicely varied kicking game. He looks calm and in control, and he's not a one-trick pony. I'm not saying Sam Walker is, but Sam has one effective, but often went to play, which is the long cutout pass on the edge. Teams will eventually figure him out, and it won't take much. Just rush up on him on the outside, shut down that pass, and he's left on his own in the middle. Savala looks much more well-rounded. I just watch him play and go, he looks like he knows exactly what he's got to do and what his job is, and he looks completely in control. He looks comfortable, and he's playing good footy.
Yeah, and there's a thing of when you get a halfback that steps in and you're not expecting a huge amount from them, but for whatever reason, it just friggin' works. Humphreys is a good example of that at South this year.
Yep, another good one.
When no one was talking about him coming into the season, and then he comes out, He's built like a brick shithouse, and he looks like a very, very, very experienced halfback for whatever reason. And you don't mess with that. You just let it play. Let it play out.
The other one was Brandon Smith is going to be lined up for South soon.
Yeah, I think it might be in their next game because he's already made the move to South.
Yep.
So that was another one of those moves by the Roosters that you and me have talked about, where they looked at their shiny, object in the window and sort of were like, oh, I want that now. And it always felt like it was not the right fit for them. And it turned out not to be.
Yeah. He will be better suited at South.
Yep.
Mainly because they have the way they forwards function is not too different to the way Storm did when he was there, and that was really heavy in the middle of the ruck. And that's where he likes to be. And Wayne Bennett knows how to have forwards that are just big and powerful rolling through the middle.
Yeah, and he's really good off the back of that sort of stuff. And the thing for him is he needs to pull his finger out at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's been dragging his feet for, 3 years?
Yeah, he is at a point now where if it doesn't work out here, he might be one of those guys where it's like, I remember that guy, he just disappeared, because that's where he's at the precipice of that.
Yeah, he'd be like, remember that guy, that guy's playing for Warrington now. Remember when he used to be in the NRL?
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, he is on the verge of, like, from 2 years from now, he'll have Matthew Johns talking about him like, remember Nene McDonald? He should be in the NRL, but he's over in Super League. And it's like, you don't want to end up being that dude.
No, that's right. Oh, man. What else is there?
Well, there's a game on Wednesday. It's called, they call it State of Origin.
Oh, right. It's neither. There's nothing to do with Origin, though?
Well, it's between New South Wales and Queensland.
Oh, right.
And it's a pretty big deal. I hear a lot of Poms are jealous of it, and they blame all of the worst things in the world for State of Origin because it's, massive TV ratings, massive crowds, massive interest. Sounds like shit. But the State of Origin, look, the Queensland team, and they've gone into this series with, it feels like a bit of a makeshift team.
Man, I'm just looking at the Queensland side now, and it looks, what's the word? Clunky?
Yeah. It's a little bit all over the place. There's some players that, experienced players who normally you would not expect to be there, like, say, Valentine Holmes. Daly Cherry Evans is another one. It's just two experienced players that, if things were working out well for them, would probably have been put out to pasture for this series, but they have to select them. Whereas
shall we go through it?
Yeah, go for it. Name the teams.
We'll go through it. So for Queensland, fullback, they got Kalen Ponga. Damn. On the wings, Xavier Coates and Valentine Holmes. In the centres, Robert Toya from the Roosters on debut and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidau. The halves are Munster and Daly Cherry Evans. In the forwards, Fotuaika, Grant, Tino Fa'asumalawi, Ruben Cotter, Jeremiah Nanai, Patrick Carrigan at lock, and on the bench they've got Dearden, Lindsay Collins, Beau Fermor, and Trent Loiero. Wow.
Yeah.
Extended bench, Kurt Mann, Jesse Arthurs. And for the Blues, Dylan Edwards at fullback, Brian Tu'o and Zach Lomax on the wings, Crichton and Mitchell in the centres, Moses and Cleary in the halves, Mitch Barnett, Reece Robson, Payne Haas up front, Liam Martin, Angus Crichton in the back row, Arthur Yeo as lock, Watson, Lenu, Hudson Young and Max King on the bench. And we've got Campbell Graham and Utika Manu and Ola Kawatu on the extended bench.
Yeah. New South Wales just looks stacked.
I must admit, their extended bench looks better than their starting bench.
It does a little bit. Look, I wouldn't have had Hudson Young in there, and Max King's playing all right. I can't hold that against him. Right.
But I've got a question.
Okay.
I don't know why Kalen Pong is in the side. Why wouldn't Queensland have Tabuai-Fidau at fullback, and then have Dane Gagai or someone like that at centre? How would that not be better?
I think that they're probably they might feel as though they need a bit more ball playing. That's my guess.
Yeah, because the Knights have been such a great attacking force this year.
Yeah, but you can't put that all. I mean, Ponga's the only thing at the Knights.
Yeah,
and I know that they beat Penrith on the weekend, but
but he's the only thing at the Knights, and he's also not performing.
Yeah, he's not had a great season. Look, I get if you had said to me, having the hammer at fullback, I wouldn't have been like, oh, but what about Callum Ponga? I guess it's just it's an opportunity to get some. It's just talent. Get as much talent in the side as you can, and this is how they do it.
Why not switch him then? Put Hammer at fullback. He is right now a better fullback than Callum Ponga.
Yeah, I agree.
So put Ponga then you got center. Or put Ponga on the wing then, and Holmes can go to centre.
I don't know how Ponga would go on the wing. Would you want Callum Ponga being guarded? What the fuck is it? The 1600s. Would you want him being guarded by Brian To'o?
Well, that's the thing. They need to switch the wingers around.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, you're just going to have Coates on Lomax, so they're just going to outleap each other, and no one's going to win that battle. Whereas Coates should have been up against To'o because he's a chance of outleaping him.
Yeah, he is. There's a chance of outleaping anyone.
Yeah.
I just think Queensland did the best with what they've got, and this is the best they could do. And unfortunately, I think this is a year that they're coming up against it. I mean, look at the Blues centres. Stephen Crichton, who is like, he's a little bit like Nathan Cleary. He's marching towards those all-time great centres, and he's not missing a footstep as he does it. And then alongside him is Latrell Mitchell, who's playing like a god recently. Like he's coming into form at the worst possible time for Queensland. But I just think that it's one of those times where we've got one team that is really, really set and the other team is got to do a big rebuild. But Queensland hasn't got the ability to do a full rebuild. It's not like we're looking at this Queensland team and say, oh, it's full of young players and stuff. It's not. It's just the best they can do for now.
Well, the other option too is if they're going to rebuild, why pick DCE?
I think that because who else would they pick, I'm
pretty sure Braden Trindle's a Queenslander.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have him in there. I'd have him ahead at DCE.
I'll check. I don't want to be wrong.
I thought he was a New South Welshman.
He could be. Oh, yeah. He was born. I mean, this doesn't mean shit. He was born in New South Wales.
Okay. Let's just assume he's a New South Welshman then.
Let's ask the internet.
Ask the interwebs. They could have put Dearden in the halves as well.
Actually, that's a very fucking good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, Braden Trindle does qualify for Queensland.
Okay.
But yeah, why not have? Yep, there he is. Qualifies. Yeah, why not have Dearden in there? God, he hasn't been playing bad.
Yeah, he's been playing all right. I don't know.
It seems odd because I wouldn't say that DCE's been, burning the house down either.
No, he's been just sort of all right.
Yeah. And go to New South Wales. Do you genuinely think that Dylan Edwards has been the best option at fullback?
I think that...
Do you think his form has been good enough to warrant Origin selection?
I don't, right? But with everything he's achieved over the last number of years, and when you add all of them Penrith connections that are in this side, I think that it's a pretty... I don't have any problems with that choice.
But there's not many Penrith connections in the side before him.
Well, there's Dylan, current and former Panthers players, Edwards, To'o, Crichton, you got Cleary, you got Martin, you got Isaiah Yeo, you've got Spencer Leniu. Like, that's a lot.
It is, but not many of them are ones that he will be linking with on the field. Like, there's Cleary and Crichton and To'o.
I just think it's an extra feather in his cap.
Well, it
Like,
might be.
who would you have put in there?
Mate, I think there's 3 fullbacks I could have put there instead of him.
I picked Pappenhausen for my one.
Yes, and he's definitely one of them. I picked William Kennedy.
Yep.
He's been phenomenal this year.
He's been good.
Dare I say, James Tedesco has been in some bloody good form the last 3 or 4 weeks.
He has.
Which is all Mitchell's been selected on as the last 3 or 4 weeks as well.
Yeah, but they're completely different players. Like,
they may well be, but I would say that all 3 of those guys have probably got a stronger claim to be in that Blues jumper over Edwards. Edwards is only getting it because he was there last year, not because of current form is dictating it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm not going to say he's going to do a shit job, but, we had an opportunity there to put someone else in that position. Didn't happen. Reece Robson as well. I've never been hugely sold on him. I don't think he's been atrocious, but
he's all right.
I do think that, I don't know, I think Blake Brayley probably deserves it more at this stage, and I don't know why he keeps getting overlooked. He's never even in the discussion, which I just think is absolutely mystifying to me.
I would have had Appy Coruscant straight away.
I don't think Appy's been in tremendous form. He sort of has like 2 or 3 good games in a row and then just has one where he's just really quiet.
A little bit quiet, yeah. I just think he'd walk into this team and it would just, it'd be all in Penrith players. It'd just be like,
Yeah.
Not even a question. It'd just all work.
But those would be the only ones I'd be looking at. The bench is a mess for me for New South Wales.
Well, I would never pick Hudson Young. I just think he's one of those flaky Raiders players. Max King is just a solid player, that's fine. Spencer Leniu, I really like his fire off the bench. I think that's perfect for him. Connor Watson, they use for his utility value as much as being a replacement hooker. Campbell Graham,
Well, he's on the extended bench. I'd have Campbell Graham in the 17 over Connor Watson.
Would ya?
Yeah.
But who comes on as your replacement hooker?
Why would you need a replacement hooker?
Seems to be the way they do it in Origin, in rep footy in general these days.
Well, the other team hasn't. They've got Tom Dearden, who's a halfback.
Yeah, true. But then how's he going to come on? He's got to come on as in a hooker role.
See, this is why Luai should have been picked, because he can do the hooking duties.
He can, yeah.
But, they wanted Moses there. And look, Moses has been playing reasonably well. I can't deny him that.
I can't believe they didn't put Olakau'atu in the starting side.
That gets me.
He's been fucking unbelievable this year.
He's not even in the 17.
It's crazy. Like, I can't believe they picked Udakamanu down in Melbourne. Like, when he went to the Storm, everyone was like, oh, he's going to be amazing at the Storm. And I'm just watching the same dude that was at the Tigers. It's the same thing. It's the same disappointment.
He's making less errors.
But barely less errors. Like, I watch him play, and when he fucks up, I'm like, Craig Bellamy is like, fuck. I fucked up.
I don't know.
But yeah, Olakau'atu, like, him not being in the starting team for me is insane.
Well, I think the other one's insane is no Terrell May.
Oh, yeah. Like, I had him on my bench. If he had been named in the starting team ahead of, say, Barnett, I would have been like, yeah, I get it. And he's not there at all.
Just not even looked at.
No.
That is just baffling. I don't know. I don't get some of the selections. It's weird. There's such contradiction with some of the selections. Some are form based, and some are you were here last year based. And
yeah. But at the same time, Andrew, when you look at this team, this New South Wales team, it looks pretty fucking settled, right? And then you look across at their opponents, and it really looks like a mess. And I can't argue with this New South Wales team going in against, like, we're arguing about what car mats are in the Ferrari, you know? Like, that's what we're doing, and we're about to race against a VW Bug.
I know.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not writing off Queensland's chances, all right? Queensland does have a chance to win this game. Not really. They're so fucked. They're so fucking fucked. We're going to smash them 3-0. It's so good.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
All right.
We should talk more about, like, what's Reece Robson doing there? Just to piss all of our Queensland followers off.
Hey, should I go through the list of all of the players who are eligible for Queensland?
Go for it. Like all of them in the whole NRL?
Not all of them, just the ones who have been playing reasonably good football who probably could have been considered.
Okay, go for it.
First we've got here. Reece Walsh.
I think he's injured.
Ezra Mam. What a story that'd be. Wouldn't the media love that?
That would have been a rugby league redemption story.
Toby Sexton, Reid Mahoney, Kurt Mann.
Yeah, they're fucked.
Josh Papali.
He's retired from rep footy.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Xavier Savage.
You know, Xavier Savage is... He is... How would I describe Xavier Savage? He is... He's like having an Italian sports car, right? You look out the window and you're like, oh, God damn it, this is fucking amazing. And like, none of the electrics in it work. And you get in the car and it's been fucking leaking onto the seat because all the seals are fucked on it. And you go to turn it over and it just doesn't even tick. And any time you got to repair it, it costs you a fucking mint because they've got to import it from Italy. But you look at it and you're like, this is going to be so good. Let me tell you, when this works, it's going to be amazing. And that's as far as it goes with Xavier Savage.
All right, how about Corey Horsburgh?
Well, he's just... I did self-center then.
Yes, you did. I think the word you were going to use there, if you're going to continue with the vehicle metaphors, is that he's kind of like a wheelbarrow.
He's like a wheelbarrow with the wheel is like got no air in it. I love it when people say how good he is because I put them on my list.
Braden Trindle, I do think he probably should have been at least spoken about, but he wasn't.
If he wants to play for Queensland, he should have been there.
Yeah. Max Plath. I'd put him on the bench.
Yeah.
He's a pretty handy player. Who else is there here? Tom Gilbert and Thomas Flegler.
They've just got a lot of meh players, don't they?
Yeah. Philip Sammy. Fodawaker. Oh, he's in there?
He's in there, yeah.
Alofiana Khan Pereira. Top try scorer for the last 2 seasons. On the wing.
Yeah. You know.
AJ Brimson.
Well, Brimson's a pom now. He's a filthy, dirty pom. Not that there's anything wrong with being a pom, but he's filthy, dirty pom.
Yeah. David Fafita.
Is he playing like...
Who? Where?
He's down. He's playing... imagine being a Titans reserve grader.
Yeah. Jaden Campbell.
I love Jaden Campbell, but no.
Ethan Bullimore. What else we got here? No one there. Dane Gagai. The Dale Shearer of the modern day.
Yeah, he must have pulled out of selection. That's all I can think. Because, he's one of those dudes. I would at least have him in the extended squad.
Shit, yeah. I'd put him in there every day.
Yeah.
He's always going to deliver. Kurt Capewell.
He's been a bit off for a while now.
Who else we got here? Cohen Hess, Thomas McKaylee, Carl Lawton, Murray Tuolongi.
He's really fallen out of favour, eh?
He has. No, nothing. No one else there. Joe Offahengawi, Jermaine Hopgood.
Yeah, I think Offengowi's over in England now.
Is he?
I'm almost certain he's over in England.
When did that happen?
I think it was not that long ago. Like it was only about a month ago, something like that. I'm almost certain he's like playing for Hull FC or someone.
Okay, it says he played on April 12th for Parramatta, so yeah, you might be right.
Who did he end up going and playing for? Let me look it up.
Well, I mean, I'm here. Let's have a look. Lee.
Oh, he's playing for that poor bastard.
He's playing for Lee.
Fuck.
He won his first game.
Yeah. Doesn't matter, though.
It's
No,
Catalans.
He's in Lee.
Yeah.
He's in fucking Lee.
Well, it could be worse.
How?
Salford.
Well, he could be in Salford, that's true. Although I did enjoy the pubs in Eccles.
Who we got from South here? Jai Arrow? Jai Gray?
Jai Gray's probably, it's a bit too soon for him. Jai Arrow, I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd made it, I guess.
Jaden Sewer?
Yeah.
Who we got here? Sam Walker? Yeah, that would have been funny. That is it of all who's available.
It's just one of those periods where it's not good for them. I mean, it happens from time to time. It happens less for New South Wales because our player pool's bigger, but it happens to Queensland from time
admittedly,
to time.
they've got there's a lot of players who are eligible for Queensland who are, young up and coming players.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a good selection to choose from in the upcoming years. So it's not all doom and gloom for them.
Yeah.
I just would have thought, given that they've got a somewhat aging roster at the moment, take the pain and give a few guys a crack so they can get a bit of exposure to it, so they're going to be better for it, the run next year round.
I guess the other thing with New South Wales to look at is that, you've got a current New South Wales club that's won 4 straight premierships on local juniors. That's pretty crazy to have that to either state. So that's helped New South Wales to no end.
Yeah. In other
because you look at that New South Wales and you see multiple premiership, and it's it's not often you see that in a lot of state of origin footy.
No, that's right.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
In other news, Salford.
Yes,
Salford.
Wonderful part of the world, Salford. My favourite suburb of Manchester, hey?
So after 12 games in Super League at the moment, they've got a points differential of minus 425.
It sounds worse than it is. You have to really watch their games.
It's going great.
Listen, they're trying hard. It just is not coming across on the scoreboard.
Let's have a review of the season, shall we, just for Salford?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, my goodness. So, I'm taking...
And then, once we've done this, we'll reveal our exclusive about the only build that is getting paid for the Salford Red Bulls.
So, I'm reading here a note made by Sean Dolan from Rugby League Project on the RLP page.
Yep, he is as you've described him to me, he's basically an underling of yours, yep?
Yeah. Girthy underling.
Oh, shit.
Let's not get this wrong.
Wow. Sean, congratulations, buddy.
In October 2024, Salford received a B grade in IMG's classification, placing them at risk of relegation. Mm-hmm. Long-term financial pressures escalated in November when the club took out a £500 million advance on RFL funding, prompting league intervention and a mandatory £700,000 budget cut.
Okay, so I think that was a £500,000.
Yeah, did I say dollar?
Yeah, you said said £500 million.
Million pound?
Yeah. So
Wow, yeah.
That would have been a big
numbers at this stage. I've been doing the books for Salford. It's all right, okay. £500,000 advance.
Yeah. Now, when that happened, right, I was one of the few people on Twitter that was like, hey, this is a really bad sign. And it had a bunch of Salford fans saying, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, anytime you're getting an advance on money that you're going to be getting in the future, not great.
Yes. Hello out there to the Australian Rugby Union. But anyway, go on.
Yes. They were then placed under a sustainability cap of £1.2 million, down from £2.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
A takeover led by Swiss banker Dario Berta was announced in February, but delays in approval left the club in limbo. This led to a controversial decision in their round one match against St Helens, where Salford fielded a weakened side and suffered an 82-0 defeat. One of the worst in Super League history. Head coach Paul Rowley defended the move, refusing to, in quotes, put half a team out with half from the reserves. The RFL launched an investigation into circumstances. Even after takeover approval, financial woes continued. Players and staff weren't paid on time in February and March, sparking training strikes and further departures, including key players like Mark Sneyd, Brad Singleton, Tim Laffey, and Callum Watkins. By April, CEO Chris Irwin admitted debts remained unresolved, going on to suggest the new owners prioritised stadium land development and were, in quotation marks, not rugby league people. Did we not mention that we thought that the new ownership was only interested in the stadium land and nothing else? Because he was a property developer.
Yeah, that kind of gave it away a little bit, hey?
Yeah.
And like, you know that they're not rugby league people by the fact that, like...
They bought Salford.
I like the idea, though, that rugby league people would have done this right. Like, it's fucking rugby league people are the dumbest cunts in the world.
Oh, boy.
Rugby league people are the reason why Salford is in the mess they're in right now.
So they opened this season with a round 3 Challenge Cup game against Midlands, and they won that 46-10, so they're off to a flyer.
Beautiful.
And then the Super League season started, and they lost to St Helens 82-0. They lost to Leeds 32-6. Lost to Hull KR 42-0. Lost to Castleford 22-14 on the improve. Then they had their round 4 Challenge Cup game against Bradford, which they won 26-16. They then beat Huddersfield 23-10, their first win of the Super League season.
Excellent.
Then it's kind of doesn't get much better from here. They lose round 6 to Wigan 54-0. They lost the Challenge Cup quarterfinal to Catalans 20-12. And from there, it's all Super League games. Lost to Leeds 28-0. Lost to Catalan 38-10. Lost to Lee 28-6. Lost to Hull KR 54-0. Lost to Castleford 48-16. And lost to Wakefield 72-10. And this week, they've got Wigan, followed by St Helens, then LFC, then St Helens again.
It's going to be messy.
Do you think
that
they're going to get 100 put on them sometime in the next 5 weeks?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
You're hopeful for the Salford?
No, I think that to get 100 put on you, I think if they got 100 put on them, the Rugby Football League might use that as a trigger point to remove them from the competition.
I mean, Wakefield did put 70 on them.
Yeah, I know. I think that it's really close anyway. Like, when I say that, I'm not saying that the Rugby Football League are like, wow, we'd never do that. And then the 100 points comes up and they're like, oh, let's do it. I think they're really close to doing that anyway. I just think that would be the catalyst for it. And I'm pretty sure I saw somebody from the Rugby Football League was saying that they've got those measures in place just in case anyway. I mean, they did it with the Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Salford.
Yeah. Now there is one bill that the Salford Red Devils have not missed. It's the only bill that hasn't been missed.
Please, you do the honours.
The owner of SalfordRedDevils.co.uk has never missed a bill. You can go to salfordreddevils.co.uk and see where it points to.
Yeah.
I've never fucked with it, hey? Like,
Nope.
if somebody said to you, right, or a lot of English fans, that I was going to end up owning the salfordreddevils.co.uk address, they would have said, oh my God, he's going to do terrible things with it, and they never have. I've always looked after it.
And then if you ask those same people all those years later to now,
yeah,
what is the only paid bill and therefore legitimate asset that the club has? And it's the thing you own.
Yeah. Like, I mean, look, if they fold and they get dissolved, it'll be the only thing that will be left that anyone will know that the club ever existed.
So
I'm in a way, I'm a caretaker of their history.
You are, yes. If anything, you should probably try and get a lot of players on board because their future income might be dependent on the success of that website.
Look, it has actually cost me money to hold on to it and look after it. To be a caretaker of it, I've spent my money to make sure it was safe. And nobody got it.
Have you been approached by the club to be on their board?
No.
Okay, no. I'll let them know tomorrow.
I actually thought I would have got a message from the club at some point saying, hey, are you interested in selling it? And I would have. I'd have sold it to them. And like, not for as much money as everyone's thinking. Like,
just £300 or £400 million.
We're talking 7 figures, but I'm not being silly over it.
No.
It's just their name. .co.uk. But, yeah, never heard anything. And that's fine. You know, I kept paying the bills. They didn't.
Oh, man. Have you had any ideas of what to put on the website given the current events going on with the club?
No, I honestly haven't fucked around with. Like, I could, I could have really fucked with it. Huh?
Yeah, I'm just like wondering, like, what ideas have you had in the past to fuck with it?
No, I never had an idea to fuck with it. I just thought it was funny to buy it.
Well, I mean that is true. Should we try and field some responses from the fans of the podcast?
If they want to,
we're not asking them. We're not asking you to do the actual work. Just if they own this website, what would they do?
What would they do? Okay, yeah, because I'm not going to fuck with it. Like, I would feel bad fucking with it at this point. But yeah, if you've got an idea tell us what you would do with the website address at podcast@leaguefreak.com, and we'll read them out next week. We'll see what people come up with.
Yeah. I mean, the other one too is there anything you think you could do with that website to save Salford?
No.
Let's see if we can get people to be as imaginative as possible on that one.
I'd swap it for like 7 Bitcoins. Like, I don't know what you could do with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's been a terrible investment on my behalf. But in terms of like investments in Salford Rugby League Club, it's one of the best that's been made because at least you can do something with it still.
Yeah, and it's not a financial burden to the club.
Yeah, it's not in debt. It's not a financial burden to the club. Everything's paid up. Like, you know.
What's going to happen?
Not made me any money.
What's going to happen if Salford gets completely shut down and folded? What are you going to do then?
I could keep it and like I could
make turn it into a shrine.
Yeah, just make a memorial to the club. I could do that, and a tasteful one, like not a cunty one, like I maybe would have done at one point in my life.
Just have a big gravestone on there.
So I wouldn't say give me those ideas. That's terrible.
Yeah, write that down.
I already did the English Rugby League gravestone. Did you see that one I put up?
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. But yeah, I guess I could have some sort of thing where it like showed how many trophies they won, or I don't know, something.
So, given that Salford is almost certainly going to be relegated at the end of the year,
yeah,
who do you think should come up? Should it be Toulouse because they're back at the top of the championship table?
Yes.
Do you know who's second on the table?
I don't know. Is it some fucking tiny little town in northern England?
I'll give you a clue. big screen TV.
Ah, Bradford.
They're back, baby. The Bulls are back.
Well,
And then it's a bunch of Halifax, Oldham, Barrow, York, Doncaster, Widnes, Featherstone, Sheffield, Batley, and then London, second last.
All the bright lights. I'd just have Toulouse in there. I think any time you can dilute the biggest problem in the English Rugby League competition, you've got to.
Absolutely. All right. What else have we got? Oh, you know what else? Is there any other rugby league stuff we need to discuss? Any other business?
I don't think there is. It's been a bit of a quiet, rugby league thing. I mean, I will say this, the NRL season is absolutely incredible this year. Like, you can turn on your TV and have no fucking idea who's going to win. And it's incredible. And as you were saying before, like, the Panthers are in last place and they're a couple of wins out of being seventh. And that's absolutely amazing. And it's going to be like, I think we're going to get to the last month of the season, and it could come down to who can win 3 games in a row. Goes from being 15th place up into the top 6 or something ridiculous. That's where we're heading.
Yeah, it is really close at the moment. What is it? It's 4 points between the 7th place Cowboys and the last place Penrith.
That's crazy.
Penrith's points difference is only 20 points worse than the 3rd place Warriors.
Yeah. That's why I haven't lost complete faith. But it has to start, and it has to start this coming round for the Panthers. They can't afford to. They need to go and win about 4 or 5 games in a row, and then have an okay rest of the season as well. But I think they can do it. As we've said, if any team can do that, it's Penrith.
That's right. Before we move on to anything else, I do remember there was a comment that was made, I think it was by Buzz Rothfield.
Yeah. What was it?
He wrote an article. Basically, the premise is, the NRL salary cap is supposed to create a level playing field, but there's significant gulf between the best and worst sides in competition when the real roster worth is laid bare.
Oh, that's right.
And I said, it's not the fault of the salary cap if a club pays overs for a player and recruits shit. But Buzz lacks the balls to criticise club officials, prefers to piss and moan about rules instead because they can't talk back to him. Most feared journalist. Hack.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the annual shitting on the salary cap when there's only 2 wins between last and 7th?
I mean, it works. Just look at where Penrith have been and where they are now, and all of the good players of theirs that have filtered through the rest of the competition. And that's the best sign you can see of how the salary cap works. It's been an amazing season so far. You literally switch it on, and it doesn't matter where a team is on the ladder. It doesn't matter the history they've had. It doesn't matter who's home and away or something. Anything could happen. And I've never seen a season this close, and it's not even close. This is the closest season for sure that I've seen in my adult lifetime.
It's pretty damn good.
And on top of that, try and pick 8 teams in this competition and have one of those teams where you're like, oh, they definitely couldn't win it all. I think the West Tigers could have a really good month and win the competition. I think the Dolphins could do it. There's only a couple of teams I would say, well, they're probably not going to do it. And that would be the Knights, the Dragons, and the Titans, because they don't take rugby league seriously. But look at Manly Seagulls. If they had a really good month, they could win it. I could see the Storm getting beaten in the finals. I could see the Cowboys being beaten. I could see. It's just you don't know.
No. Got some more from Buzz.
Okay.
Why did the Tigers and Warriors, who the NRL know wouldn't provide any players to Origin, get the luxury of having 2 buys? Every year, the Roosters have between 3 and 5 players in Origin. The NRL know it.
I fucking hate people that whinge about the draw. Huh?
So, I said, you know what? Buzz is just 100% stupid. For those whining about this,
Yeah.
there's two things, okay? Teams who have got no rep players would rather be playing now against weakened teams than having a bye. Because, there's a stronger chance of winning a team that you'd probably be more often going to lose against.
Yeah.
Furthermore, if you don't like it, don't get bitter, get shitter.
Well, I just think that when we look through the list of premiers every year, there's not one single one of the premiership winners that anybody has ever said, yeah, but their draw was a bit soft. Everyone has to go through a fucking terrible grind of a season and then a war of a final series to win. And I just think that whinging about the draw, it's like when we were saying Ricky Stewart whinging about the travel that the Raiders had to do. And it's tell that to to fucking Townsville and the Warriors. I just get over people whinging about draws. It's shut up and play the next game, you fucking loser. I don't care who's got the buys or whatever in, Origin, or just fucking deal with it. Penrith had none of their good players available against Newcastle. Eat the shit sandwich and fucking deal with it.
All right, I got one more for you.
Okay.
Mark,
was it because my last answer was so measured?
Mate, they're always measured. Mark Bosnich had a suggestion.
Mark Bosnich, the former keeper for Manchester United.
Yeah. He liked to march around. Was he the one who liked to march around? No, that was the other one.
To what? Yeah, you've got the right guy.
Oh, okay.
That Mark, have you ever heard the Mark Bosnich story about his girlfriend?
No.
His girlfriend was, he's talked about this openly, I'm pretty sure, so I can talk about it. His girlfriend was getting addicted to coke, and he was like, it's fucking you up. And he was like, right, I've had enough. Every line of coke you do, I'm doing 2 of them from now on. And he just got addicted to coke. And it was bad. He's talked about it.
Wow.
He's talked about it. I'd love to talk to Mark Bosnich.
What a smart, measured solution that was to a problem.
It was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Oh, my fucking God. It just sounded like an excuse to do more coke because that's what he wanted to do.
I think he'd be really interesting to talk to.
He probably would. He had an idea here, and he said, should sports in Australia kick off their last rounds of their competitions at exactly the same time and exactly the same day?
What?
Yes, I know. Oh my goodness.
That's disappointing.
It's been a fun week in the media.
Yeah, that's rough. Man, that's disappointing. I just feel bad now.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the Formula One aspect of the
because let's get past the intro. You watched the Monaco, what they called a Grand Prix?
Yeah. It's funny, it's I may have mentioned this once before. It's just a very fitting comment. It was made by John Clark on an episode of The Games. Mm. And he said, Formula One cars, they're the fastest cars in the world. And the key moment is at Monaco is when they take their pit stops. So It doesn't matter how fast they are. The most important part is when they all stop and have a break.
Yeah.
And so last year at Monaco, for those who don't know, cars only have to have one mandatory pit stop. And there was a red flag very early on because there was an accident. So every single car went into the pits, changed their tyres. They got the mandatory pit stop out of the way. They all had hard tyres on so they could finish the whole race on that. And so they just went out and drove slowly and no one overtook anybody. And it just was a procession with nothing happening. And then they just finished in the same order that they started in. So this year, the FIA said, okay, you now have to do a mandatory 2 stops. So if there's a red flag early on, which is always highly likely, it's a very tight street circuit, then you can't just do what you did there. You're still going to have to do another pit stop later on. And so what we had was a more frenzied, chaotic version of what we had last year, where teams are driving into the pits and still pitting and all sorts of stuff, but still coming out in the same position, and we still end up with very few overtakes and no actual real difference to the actual race.
Yeah, and we had about 2/3 of the way down the field, we had every single car line astern, and up front there were two teams that were holding everyone back so that they could each do their pit stops and get it out the way, but they were physically slowing everyone down so they'd have the gap to go back into. And then, the only time the leaders had any trouble was getting through that snake of a procession that was going on. And,
how often have we seen a race anywhere where half the field have been lapped twice by the teams at the front? Because that's what
I know. And it was terrible. It was just, I think it's the worst Monaco Grand Prix I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's between the last two. It's horrible.
Yeah.
They can't keep racing there.
I think what they obviously the size of the cars is a problem at the moment, and they're going to be smaller next year. But I think they need to there was a solution I saw on a YouTube channel where you've got the normal circuit, but then there's an alternative circuit which is a little bit longer. And they have it so that you've got to do that circuit, say, 5 times in the race at the very minimum, right? And what it allows is to have the race mixed up a little bit, because then you've got that extra bit of strategy you've got to throw in. But they tried to add extra strategy with the extra pit stop, and it was almost the opposite of adding any smart strategy in it. I mean, I don't know why, but the fucking Mercedes team just was like, what if we just didn't stop? What if we don't stop whatsoever? What would happen then? And then you get Verstappen, who's done one stop and he's leading the race and he's backing everyone at the front up, and he comes in to do his last stop on the last lap, but he's been backing them up hoping they all trip over him behind him, or there's a red flag in the race.
Yeah, he was waiting for a crash.
Yeah. And if the strategy for any team, especially a leading team, is I hope there's a crash. I was thinking, man, if fucking Yuki Tsunoda or one of the racing bulls hits the fucking barrier, people are going to go insane, you know?
Especially now that Flavio Briatore's back in there.
Yeah. So
there is an easy solution. And I think I might have suggested it last year, and that was they get rid of the chicane out of the tunnel, because the road's a bit wider there. You just make that straight the whole way through and make that the DRS zone. Because part of the problem is the DRS zone is that tiny straight, the start-finish line. You just can't overtake there. It is too short. The DRS just doesn't work there.
Yeah.
Put it coming through the tunnel there. It's the longest, straightest part of the track. It's the widest part of the track. As much as there's a little curve in it, but if you made that straight all the way through, you might be able to get some passing done there. Because at the moment, there is none being done.
Yeah.
And it is, the cars are too wide. The track is too narrow. It just doesn't work with the modern cars. It just won't. And even though the cars, with the new regulations, are going to be smaller, they're not going to be smaller by enough.
No.
They're only going to be marginally smaller. It's not going to be by a lot. So it's either that, or they just make sure that everyone has to have, 4 different tyre compounds on at one time. And into a hard, a soft, and a medium.
Imagine that.
You've got to pit 3 times, and you can't have the same tyre on a wheel twice.
Well, they tried to introduce tyre degradation to it, and they just all slow right down by 5 seconds a lap.
Yeah.
So that didn't work.
Well, they didn't go with the softest tyres either. It was a hot day. They could have gone with the 3 softest tyres.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They went in the middle. So it meant that the hard tyre could still go, 50 odd laps.
Yeah.
Well, as Mercedes showed, it could go 70 laps.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
Look, I love Monaco because at its best, you've got the greatest racing machine that humans can make at any one time, and you're dragging it around this ridiculous circuit that Formula One honestly moved on from technically in the late 50s. And I love that about it. And when when it works, it's amazing. Like even with the modern cars, we have seen great modern races at Monaco, but at the last two have been bludgers, and this one it was so bad because you saw teams slowing everyone down. That's what got me, and it was weird because you had the front runners, then you had Lewis Hamilton that was just on his own, and then you had all of these back markers. It was a weird race.
Yeah, and no one could get through anywhere.
Yeah, and even at the end, I thought that maybe Oscar Piastri might have had a chance against Leclerc because the back of Leclerc's car was stepping out a little bit at the end, and his tyres were going on him a bit. But even with the quicker car, like there was zero chance that he could have got past.
Yeah,
and I think that said a lot about Monaco. I think they need to look at maybe having some sort of alternative route that they go. I don't know. Like your idea, I think it's got merit, but I don't know that they'd want the cars going that quickly with zero runoff areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just zero runoff. Like by the time they get down to the end of what would be a pretty long straight, they're going to be doing like nearly 300 k's an hour, and the end of it is Armco. Like I don't know that they'd want that.
Well, they can take the Armco off.
I don't know that they can at the end. What would be the end of that though? Because I think it's a building.
No, isn't it I'm pretty sure it's an Armco goes on a street down there. Anyway,
what if they make them have to zing across the top of the swimming pool?
There's an idea. Let's just start building bridges around it so you can actually design the track the way you want it. Maybe
put like some speed bumps and shit like that they like are really high, so they've got to come down to 5 k's an hour to get over the top of them.
Do like they did at Russia, just have half the track being a roundabout. I was going to say, I think the Monaco track is to modern Formula One what Leichhardt Oval is to modern NRL.
It is a little bit, isn't it?
Yep. Time to move on.
Smells less like piss. But that's literally the only difference between Monaco and Leichhardt Oval.
Yes.
The views, the people, the yachts.
Yeah. The atmosphere.
The atmosphere, how much it costs to buy a house there.
People standing out the window watching it.
Yeah, looking over fences and shit, sitting on roofs.
Nowhere to park.
No parking.
See, perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else? Have we had any emails?
No, we haven't.
Oh,
no emails.
Oh dear. What else do we talk about? I don't know.
Remember all of the nice things I said about our listeners, and then you reminded me they didn't send us emails?
Yeah.
Fucking bastards.
That's why I said nothing.
No, that's pretty much it. The upcoming race in the Formula One season's at Spain. So, I mean, hopefully that's a better race. I can't imagine it's any worse. But Piastri's still leading the championship. Atlanta and Norris has had a couple of good races, so that's not as much of a lead now. He needs to win the next one, I think. And you know what he needs to do? He needs to start saying to McLaren, I'm leading this title race. I'm your number one driver. I don't give a fuck what you say. And stop moving over and stuff for him. But you can only do that if you're out qualifying. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. It's it was fun. There was a moment getting into the later stages of that race, and I think it was when Norris had finally got the lead off Verstappen because Verstappen had to pit.
Yeah.
And Norris is immediately saying, "Where's Oscar? I need him to put pressure on Charles behind me."
Yeah.
Dude, just drive the fucking car.
Yeah, well, look, Norris has the panic in him.
He does.
He's got a panic in him, and
he gets pressure, mate, and he starts to crumble.
Look, when they were closing up, I think that Verstappen, part of him closing Norris back up onto Leclerc was that he hoped that Norris would do something fucked up. and it just didn't eventuate. So, what can you do?
That's right. Alrighty. Well, I guess that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, will we try and do a post-Origin episode? Will you be around for that?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, we can do that.
We can go through my world-famous Origin ratings that everyone gets fucking angry about.
Nice. I'll have a crack at it myself.
The thing I love about the internet?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you're saying there, everyone gets fucking angry at you. It's amazing. It's like having a fucking girlfriend.
Oh, that's a good note to hang up on, I reckon. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you check us out on all of the socials. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. That would be fantastic. Please send us an email. Where can they do that at, Freaky?
Podcast@LeagueFreak.com.
Please send us your emails. Tell us what Freaky should do with his website if you had it. That would be fantastic.
What you would do if it was yours, yeah.
Yeah. And we'll catch us all next time.